He doesn't say much in English yet, Christian Castoya, but I tell you what, his words are meaningful. He definitely pushes for the limit of his ability, and he's doing a fantastic job. But how about this boy? Alexander Bondarev, the Phoenix. You run out of superlatives for this man. Over the course of the last 6 weeks, he has had quite an incredible journey. Victory in Champions of the Future at Thrunech. Victory at the FIA Karting European Championship in Thrunech. And then a week and a half later, in between the warm-up event for this and the European Championship itself, he went to the United Kingdom and competed in a charity race to raise money for the plight of his country, and won it, despite the fact he had never sat in that particular kart before the start of racing. And he hung out with some pretty cool people, including Tom Cruise's stuntman and the Formula 2 champion from years gone by, Luciano Bacchetta. He's had an amazing time, a quick visit to the UK to go and do some charity racing, and he wins it on his debut, and spent half an hour of that 2-hour race behind the wheel in a kart he'd never driven before. What an absolute hero. Now everybody in the UK karting scene knows about him, but we've obviously known that story for quite some time. And of course, here in Rodby, he has a chance to extend his advantage in the European Championship. It's quite the story.
Yeah, talking about momentum for Alexander Bondarev, who's been on a charge of piling up the results. He was second for the start of the European Championship to Thibaut Wermakers back in Spain. A very strong result, and is our current leader of the competition, coming to Denmark. Oh, and we have one of the Paralympic drivers, the 253.
That's Andy Consani. So Andy Consani, the Frenchman, who should be starting from P6. So that is not good news for him. But, well, we'll talk you through the grid anyway. Christian Castoya and Alexander Bondarev. Then the American, Vivek Kanthan, and the Swede, Oliver Kinmark. Thibaut Wermakers is alongside Andy Consani if he gets started. Sebastian Letimaki and Alpak Soy. Ethan Lennon, Augustus Toniolo, Guy Albag, and Lewis Francis.
Row number 7, we'll see Salmi Hanna and Noah Montero. Row number 8, Matt Corby and Kip Belowski, followed by Davide Botaro, Kosei Oguma, Mikkel Nieuways, Oliver Rasmussen, Enzo Ruggiero, Maël Le Marchand, Magnus Horn Hansen, and Christopher Nita. 12 rows on the grid, 24 drivers, and by the look of it, things don't seem to be going as expected, unfortunately, for the Paralympic driver, Andy Consani. And yeah, you don't want to see that. Unfortunately, they're going to try to start him again, but it means at the back end of the grid at best.
Yeah, they tried to push start him. It hasn't worked this time, so they've got to wait. They might permit him to go out at the end of this formation lap and join into the back, but they've got to push start him in order to make that work. And they are push starting him. Can they get him moving? Can they get him moving? I'm not sure they have. Oh, yeah, they have. So Andy Consani will now join up at the back of the field. Now, I don't know whether that means he'll be allowed to take his original grid position or whether he'll have to start from the back of the grid. Essentially, he's got to catch up to his position, get up to the red line. If he hasn't caught up to the pack by then, he'll have to start this race from the back instead of in P6.
Yeah, let's see what's going to happen for him. Not ideal, even for the state of mind, of course, to face struggle, mechanical struggle. Once you make your way onto the track, hopefully he can actually find his place back into the field. But yeah, you don't get to see him, but he's pushing on the back straight at the back end of the grid. But maybe, just maybe, will he have enough time to get in line?
I think he'll have enough time to form up in 24th, but I don't think he'll be able to. Well, 23rd, because it doesn't look like we've also got Christopher Nita having problems there, the Norwegian, one of the wildcards this weekend. Of course, we do have another wildcard this weekend, which is of note to many people. The Danish star, Luca Magnussen, who is actually Kevin's younger brother, who is competing this weekend. Let's see if we go racing. We do! Up to the start. Christian Castoya has a good start. Bondarev's going to get a better start. No, he's not. So Bondarev gets squeezed there into turn 1. And so Castoya gets the start he wants. Bondarev is going to have a little bit of pressure from Kinmark behind him. And as they work their way through, Kinmark is going to hold on a third position as the rest of the field knits their way through. Andy Consani trying to come through. And there's a little bit of pushing and shoving as one of the CRGs gets spat out off the road there. I think it was Oliver Rasmussen, who has now managed to get it back on the road again. So no major catastrophes. Couple of drivers certainly out of shape, but Bondarev and Kinmark are upping the ante to try and catch up to Castoya, as on the first lap, a very irate Ethan Lennon is not happy with his hand in the air as Andy Consani is under investigation for his actions on the start as well.
And we seem to be to have lost Magnus Horn Hansen by the look of it in the opening lap. Don't get to see it just yet, but I think that Magnus Horn Hansen, one of the wildcards from Denmark, is out of this race. Unfortunately, he didn't go very far, but hopefully he will get back on his foot very soon in the next races. And this is, or is it no, this is Magnus Holm Hansen, yeah, confirmation for the Danish driver.
Right, now we've got a bit of an issue here between the two teammates at Forza because Geilbag is trying to get through Ethan Lennon. He gets through. Good run from the Israeli. So Geilbag managed to have some good conversations with him post-event at Trinec. And Geilbag, or Albagino, as they know him in Forza Racing, doing a fantastic job. There is Bondarev in front of Kinmark, the Ukrainian in front of the Swede, and then Vivek Kanthan, the Paralin driver, who did such a fantastic job here 2 weeks ago in the warm-up event, is now looking very strong, did a very good job, and is continuing that sort of pace. Bondarev a little bit wide out of the final turn, as there is the retired Paralin of Magnus Holm Hansen. So the Danish driver no longer competing in this particular one. He's in the AF competition Paralin, which is one of the satellite teams. Ethan Lennon has dropped back, so too has Kosai Oguma, the Japanese driver. But Kinmark is all over the back of Bondarev. Look at Kinmark. He really has woken up to it this morning as Tibor Ramakas gets his bid on the inside of the young Turkish driver Alpak Soy, who is one of the youngest in the field last year, still has a lot that he can do in junior. Next year, I think, is the year when Alpak Soy is really going to be challenging for the European Championship title. But I tell you what, he's right up at the sharp end here today in the top 10. Behind, we've got this very long train starting to establish itself. But you've got behind Ramakas and Aksoy, you've got Toniolo, then Lewis Francis, the Australian, then Noel Montero, and then Sebastian Lettemarki, and then we've got the cavalry, Albag, Hanna, Kotsani, Belovski, Mayhus, and Ethan Lennon.
Let's not forget that Oliver Kinmark has already one win under his name yesterday in one of the first actually qualifying heat for those two groups, at least for this group. But what a win that was. Unfortunately, we didn't have the live streaming yesterday, but was there to comment it live on track. Tibor Ramakas putting the fastest lap, the Belgian driver. But Kinmark actually took the win in the very last corner of the last lap after an attack of Alexander Bondarev. Bondarev went for the move, a brave move into the last sector. Lost it, went from P1 to P3, and it was enough for Kinmark to take the first win of the weekend. Win as well for Christian Kostoya. So those two have to be kept under close watch.
So we're looking at the restart, the race start again, but on the inset you can still see the live feed in this huge cavalry, which is being led by Geilbag ahead of Adi Konsani and Salim Hanna. It's having a great duel. You can see how tight it is on the start. Look, you've got 3 or 4 drivers trying to go for the same bit of racetrack, and watch, one just gets popped out on the way out of the right and into the left. This is where you're going to see one driver get spat out of the scene. Wait for it, there. 3 karts into one space. They were all incredibly lucky that they are still facing in the right direction, and all of the drivers except for Magnus Holm Hansen are still circulating around the course. But it was very close indeed on that opening lap. We almost had 3 or 4 karts off to the scenery. Now, Tibor Ramakas has got back onto his game, and he has managed to get past Vivek Kanthan now. So Ramakas is ahead of Kanthan. But as they come off the turn, Bondarev has started to eke a little bit closer to Christian Kostoya. It looks like it's going to be Paralin versus Kart Republic very soon.
Talking about Tibor Ramakas, he still have a couple of cards up his sleeve because the qualifying didn't go according to plan for the young Belgian who won the opening round of the European Championship back in Valencia. You might remember that. But it wasn't as fast as he would have expected in his group, starting from P5, and he's having to climb through the field, which he's doing at the moment. But warning flag in the meantime by Oliver Rasmussen, who's at the moment in P17, trying to recover through the field. And talking about the young Belgian, let's see his move on lap number 4 around the inside. That was a close one.
It's as minimal as possible, and even on the exit, he's struggling to get the kart pointed in the right direction.
Yeah,
he's leaving nothing on the table here, Tibor Ramakas. He is a feisty little character. He never backs down from a decent fight, and I have a feeling that Oliver Kinmark is about to get a big wake-up call on this lap.
Kostoya closing another lap, lap number 7 out of 10, and Lucas coming on him. Alexander Bondarev is the chaser, is the one who's going to try to harass him until the end. Kinmark leading the second wagon with Ramakas, Vatan, Toniolo in P6, Aksoy, Francis Montero, and Lettemarki, a top 10 still in a relatively steady position as for now. Alexander Bondarev bagging up the fastest lap in this race, and he's waiting for the right moment. Of course, there's no rush, but there's a little bit because time is running out lap after lap, and the tricky thing in these conditions is to pick up your moment. Try not to go too soon for the move, because that will give space and momentum as well for Kostoya to fight back. But if you wait way too late until the last lap, that might actually prove to be not paying off actually in the end.
Yeah, good things come to those who wait, as we know in motor racing. And Bondarev goes into lap number 8 now, having completed 7 of them. There's still time. You can pick your moment on the last lap. You don't have to rush it all in one go, especially now that Timo Ramakers is going to give Oliver Kinmark a bit of a hard time here. And Vivek Kanthan is going to be sitting, waiting in the wings here in 5th position, waiting for his moment. So there's still plenty of time for this to change, and it is going to change in one way or another over the course of these next 2.5 laps. You've got to time it right. Ramakers knows that if Bondarev starts attacking Kostoya, he wants to be the one in 3rd position, ready for that. That's a big lunge up the inside from one of the CRGs, very nearly going straight into the side of Noah Wolf. Goodness me, that was...
I think it's Oliver Rasmussen.
Oh, sorry, Oliver Rasmussen. Yeah, so he almost went into the side of Kip Belowski, in fact. So the other British driver in the Piralat,
who actually had a DNF yesterday in one of his heats, Kit Bilovsky, so a lot of grounds to make up.
So now we've got Bondarev 1/4 of a second back from Kostoya, who just tries to extend the gap. New fastest lap comes in, and it's the American Vivek Kanthan who loses it! Oh, Kanthan! Devastating! He just put one wheel on the grass as he came through. Oh, you've really got a feel for Vivek Kanthan. Just a couple of millimeters onto the grass, and that's all it took.
Yeah, you saw that live actually. We picked up that move. Unfortunately, as you said, a tiny bit of wheel onto the grass, and then he went for a spin. And there was little he could do to avoid that. Unfortunately, driver error, as it can happen at this level. And unfortunately, he was pushing to try to take 4th place from Timo Ramakers. But so it happened, unfortunately for him.
Well, this is his first appearance in the European Championships in 2023, of course. This season, his whole campaign, he's a new boy at this level. He's been racing in America for a short time, but having come from minis to juniors, it's obviously been a tricky transition. Right, we're on the final lap, and Kostoya's going into defensive mode. This is where it's going to change. Kostoya cannot hope to hold on to this for the entire lap, but he's got to try to do so. Bondarev going with him, hoping to open the door. Watch for Kinmark and Ramakers. Now it's a 4-card battle on the last lap, and again Kostoya defends. Again Bondarev can't get through, so Kinmark's going to have his chance to come through instead. Kostoya will try one more time. Surely there's got to be a way through. Kinmark's going to go the long way deep. Ramakers is going to try again as well. Up to the inside line. Bondarev trying. Kostoya is keeping that parallel as wide as possible. Now can he cut through? Kinmark's going to try and come through instead. Bondarev with a warning flag. Kostoya will just hold on to make it 2 wins out of 2 in front of Bondarev, Kinmark, Ramakers and Gastoniolo, who caught up to them on the final lap as a result of that. But Christian Kostoya keeping that parallel as wide as possible. You shall not pass.
Great demonstration of defensive driving, but it was clean, it was proper. That's what we like to see. Oliver Kinmark came close to do it all